Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, leave it to the month of August, RPG a Day month, where every day I have a pre-planned video topic all laid out for me, and so do you, because you should participate and throw your voice in the mix. Don't just watch. Get involved. Anyhow, leave it to that month to have me thinking of other video topics where all of a sudden I have to make more than one video in a day every once in a while, and this is one of those times. What happened was Samwise 7 RPG linked a video by Grim Jim, and Jim decided he was only going to do maybe like 3 videos on RPG a day. So I think he kind of did this little blitzkrieg video of about 10 of the topics. So anyhow, Sam linked that to the RPG Brigade. Tim did, and so I watched that really fast video. And one of the topics is what RPG is best for, like a little 10-session campaign. And so Jim put down that probably something like Dungeons and Dragons because of the dreaded power creep. The whole that game in particular, because of its class and level nature, has this point where the characters go from being kind of cool to like too overpowered. And so he said maybe this would be best for a limited campaign. So it got me to thinking. I've talked about this a little bit here and there, but I believe that this game here that I'm always promoting, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, I believe that solved a lot of that problem. Is it completely gone? No. But let me explain. Let me talk about this a little bit and why. Once again, I think James Edward Raggi III, fourth, is one of those numbers. I think it's fourth. Is brilliant. So, first one talked about a bunch of times is that only the fighter increases an attack bonus. I was taken aback. This is one of the hardest pills for me to swallow for a while. But in hindsight, it's brilliant. And I've talked about that before. But one of the things that happens is the game doesn't turn to this gigantic, power creeping combat simulator where people, you constantly have to throw more and more powerful critters at the party because they become more and more powerful. There's not that. Doesn't happen. The fighters the fighters become Cuisinarts, but the other members of the party, how are the party assembled, so to speak. They don't turn into these combat machines. Second thing is armor class. There's this narrow range of armor classes presented in the game, from unarmored to plate mail, and plate mail is pretty darn hard to get. The monsters themselves follow suit. There's no bestiary in this. I think he's going to produce a bestiary sooner or later, but the sample adventures, the published adventures for it, those armor classes remain pretty much in those ranges for the most part. So it's not like the old D&D that we grew up with, and certainly not like the D&D that's out there now where there's this gigantic range of armor classes where you all of a sudden, you have to have incredible attack bonuses, or THAC0. The game doesn't use THAC0, but in case anybody really old's watching, like me, and not sure what attack bonus means, you have to have some kind of crazy thing going on, or magic weapons or something in order to hit these critters. It doesn't exist. Next is the thief or rogue, or in this case specialist class. Well, they're the guy that gets better at skills, but he can choose like what skills does he get better at. Maybe he's just better at sneaking or stealth, or maybe he's better at tinkering, removing traps. Maybe he really decides to master things like bushcraft and be kind of more ranger-esque. But that's their shtick. You can certainly make him more utilitarian, but those don't like make or break things in terms of like this dreaded power creep. They just get better at whatever it is they're trying to get better at. It's not this power or combat power thing is what I'm getting at. It's different. So what's next? Spells. Because those often, make or break a game as well. And one of the things that happens in this game is there are not the fireballs, the lightning bolts, the big, giant mass damage spells. They're not in there. Magic missile's in there, a little more powerful than normal. Not very much, but it's in there. There's a couple spells I think like Cloud Kill and what have you that have the potential to cause mass damage, but they're of a different type, and those really aren't available for some time. So most of the spells that are in here for both magic users and clerics, they're utilitarian. They're the kind of spells which help you solve problems. They can be investigative in nature, when you're speaking to the dead, or using whatever kind of communication spells you're using. Communication with otherworldly type stuff. I mean, for the most part, there are spells out of the old basic D&D with some other really weird twisted spells put in there. But they're the ones that they're problem-solving spells. They're like, hey, we're in a jam. It's utilitarian. They're not so much of the offensive defensive spells. If anything, there's a little more defensive spells than offensive. So different animal. You don't the nukes don't happen in this game either. The only thing that really happens offensively in this game is that the fighter becomes really good at fighting people, but he's probably not the only person you're traveling with, unless you want to have a party of fighters, which is great. And let's see, what else? Okay, well, hit points still accelerate. And, I used to think it was a bummer when I was a kid. Like, how come they cap off at level 9, then you only get this little dinky hit point increase? Now I realize why. It prevents this creep to having characters with 400 hit points, where combat becomes ridiculous. But, so hit points still increase kind of the way they used to. Also, saving throws get better over time. But I realized in a case like this, what it enables you to do, and I've experienced this through actual play, is this pretty much makes the characters survive a little bit longer during combat and give you the opportunity to run away, which sometimes we did, or at least survive long enough to maybe pull off some kind of tactic or utilitarian spell or whatever that maybe saves the day. Occasionally the fighter will outlast somebody in a more classic sense. However, at the end of the day, it's been my experience that the power creep that happens in something like classic D&D or modern D&D doesn't happen the same way. So the game becomes playable, over a longer period of time. My longest experience in the game, to be honest, was from 1st to 7th level. I think some of the characters made it up to 8th. But by that time, we were some movers and shakers in the world, but we were not godlike. We did have the chance to go up against some NPCs which were much higher level, and even a couple times we got to play another NPC when it was something. I think I actually ended up playing a wizard in one battle who died pretty darn fast. So you still remain fragile in this game for a long, long time. So it's been my experience that the power creep isn't the same. It doesn't turn into this ridiculous video game-esque experience like it can in class level based games, like the old D&D at higher levels, or certainly modern D&D. So I think for all the things that I was taken aback by in the beginning when I looked at this game, I think James is kind of brilliant. It was one of those things it just kind of hit me a little bit harder, watching Jim's video, that in fact this solves a lot of that power creep problem. So what's your experience been with that? Do you even care? Have a good one.